Welcome to Alabama Justice Lawyering Up. My name is Richard Jaffe, the senior partner in the Birmingham, Alabama law firm of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight. We are going to explore with you the hottest cases, the most controversial topics of Alabama justice, and we're going to bring to you exciting key players that make our Alabama justice work or not work. We look forward to having you. Welcome to Alabama Justice, another exciting program with another fascinating guest, District Attorney Lynneice Washington. And let me tell you the name of this show. It's Making History. And as you come with us along this journey, you'll see what I mean. And I have one word to describe District Attorney Lynneice Washington, and that's this. She is an inspiration. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We so much appreciate you being here. And what I'd like to do is start off by just asking you to tell the viewers a little bit about Lynneice, about Miss Washington.
Well, I am Birmingham bred and born, just say born and bred. Attended Birmingham Public School System, graduated from Parker High School, and in fact, we're having our alumni picnic this weekend. Graduated from Parker, and then I went to UAB for 1 year, and from UAB, I graduated from Auburn University at Montgomery, and from there, I attended Miles Law School and graduated there in 1995 with honors, and I passed the bar in 96, and the rest is history.
It is indeed, and we will get to that for sure. Let me ask you this. What is it that made you decide, I want to be an attorney, I want to be a lawyer?
That was the only career that I've ever chosen. As a young child, I would love watching shows like Wonder Woman and Marcus Welby, MD, and Perry Mason. I've always been just intrigued by the judicial system and wanting to help the underdog, I guess, if you would. My mother was one who was, even though in her meager ownings and stuff, she was one that always helped people. She was the one that, even though she didn't have anything, if she had a quarter, then she'll give you 24 cents of it, you know. So I've just always had this heart for people. And the law is the best way to do it.
And when did you decide, I really want to work on the prosecution side?
Well, that did not really come to fruition until about 2002. I began working as an assistant district attorney at the Bessemer DA's office, where I'm now the DA, the district attorney. And I worked there from 2002 to 2010. Of course, coming from Miles Law School, the first thing I did, I hung out my own shingle. And in doing so, I did defense work in Walker County, in Birmingham, Jefferson, as well as Bessemer. And I got to know quite a few people. So when there was an opportunity that presented itself to work at the DA's office in Bessemer, then I took hold of it. And I fell in love with being a prosecutor.
So tell us, later on you were a judge, is that right?
Yes.
Where were you a judge?
I was a presiding judge for the city of Bessemer. Back in 2010, I had to resign my career as a prosecutor with the Bessemer DA's office to run as district judge. Of course, I was unsuccessful, but during that time, August of 2010, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was at the height of the election season. So I start trying to divert my attention to living and not so much as to campaigning. But I was unsuccessful in that election. In February of 2011, I was appointed as presiding judge for the city of Bessemer. And I served there until I became district attorney for Jefferson County Bessemer Division. And
what made you decide to run for district attorney?
It was an opportunity that presented itself because Arthur Green, who was my boss at the time that I worked there, I would have never run against Arthur Green. And at the time that he was retiring, that presented an opportunity for me to run as district attorney, to realize my dream. But, you know, even as I sat as presiding judge, I had my own private practice then as well. At that time, I was in the office with James Stewart, who also, we graduated from law school together. And I was one of the rotating hearing officers for Jefferson County Personnel Board. I was also the appellate prosecutor for the city of Irondale, as well as sitting on the benches part-time. So that was Wednesdays and Fridays, as well as my private practice.
What is the difference between what a prosecutor does and what a private lawyer does?
Oh, wow. A prosecutor, in a sense, is more structured. You don't have to worry about paying the bills. You don't have, in my office, I didn't have a receptionist or secretary. So I was the office manager, I was the law clerk, I was the attorney, I was whatever hat that needed to be worn at that time. With the DA's office, as a prosecutor, you have those resources. You have the investigators, you have the administrative staff, and it takes away worries that you would otherwise have in private practice.
Well, as an assistant district attorney, before you became the district attorney and made history, which we'll get into,
Yes.
what is the greatest challenge of being a prosecutor?
You want to do the right thing. Often people look at prosecutors as just that person that you go into prison. No doubt about it. Go to prison. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that justice is balanced. That everyone, the defendants have rights as well. We don't want to violate those rights. We want to keep Lady Justice blind and keep her balanced. And I just want to make sure that I do a good job for the community, because my family, your family, we all live in this community. So at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for everyone.
What would you say to parents out there who are raising children in terms of how you would not want them to cross paths with anyone in your office?
These days, we have a microwave society. Everything comes quick. And our children in this era, they think that they're entitled to everything. When I was younger, I have more now than I did when I was a child. And my mother had a 6th grade education. My father had an 8th grade education. So it wasn't a lot of worldly things that they could give me, but what they sowed into me were values. And that's a lot of what our youth is missing. They don't have a moral compass anymore. They don't have those values. They don't have a foundation. And those that do, sometimes they make wrong decision. I won't say a mistake. Mistake occurs when you don't know what you're doing. But when you are doing something that you know is wrong, that's a decision. So oftentimes we have youth that they're equipped with the right things, with foundation, with the information to make a good decision, but for whatever reason, they make a wrong decision.
Well, during our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the awesome power of a prosecutor, and we'll do that in just a moment.
Yes, thank you.
Head to Carl Cannon. Their dream team makes it real easy to do business.
Here at Carl Cannon Chevrolet, we offer a wide variety of vehicles. Trucks is one of our main things that we have here. We offer them that can be dinghy-towed, flat-towed, and we also have vehicles that can tow between 3,500 pounds all the way to 17,500 pounds. So if you need a vehicle that can just take you to church on Sundays or pull the load on Mondays, we've got them all right here for you at Carl Cannon. Been here for 50 years. Come see us in Jasper.
Other dealers can't, Cannon can.
Carl Cannon, Chevy Buick GMC Cadillac in Jasper.
Every day, students at Bevel State Community College tell their own stories. They tell them through the accomplishments they achieve, the choices they make for career success, and through recommendations they share with friends. With 5 locations serving 7 counties and tuition lower than 4-year colleges, now is the time to start writing your own success story. Your story starts at Bevel State.
Welcome back to Alabama Justice. We're here with Lynneice Washington, who is the district attorney in the Bessemer Cutoff in Jefferson County, Alabama. And we're talking about the awesome power of a district attorney. They carry a lot of weight, and they have the power to control who is prosecuted and who is not. How does that influence you?
It is, I'm still getting used to it.
Sure.
I really am. I'm still getting used to it. And recognizing that it is a great power. It's a great power that you have to change lives. You have that opportunity to change lives or to hurt lives. And it kind of segues back into what I was saying earlier, that at the end of the day, I just want to make the right decision and make sure that whatever decision I make as to whom to prosecute and whom not to prosecute, that will benefit the community as a whole.
And what influences you? You mentioned earlier that, different things influence you in making decisions. And what influences you?
I've got to say a lot, other than my parents, my mother and my dad, the professors that I had in law school, they were tremendous inspirations to me. I had Justice Ralph Cook, former Justice Ralph Cook. I had Joe Morgan, who is now deceased. I had the great here, Mr. Richard Jaffe, and Mr. Jaffe taught me evidence. And I learned evidence, I tell you. And we had Emory Anthony. I just had a lot of great instructors, and all of them were well into their careers. So I had an opportunity, a bird's eye view, to kind of see what my career could be. And it's always helpful when you see someone that's successful, rather than someone tell you what you can be, what you can become. I actually had proof, and they were actually teaching me. They were sowing into me. So they were giving me the tools to use for me to be great. And so I had some great inspirational teachers. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you really are an inspiration to so many people. When you were in Miles Law School, did you really see yourself as becoming the very first African-American female prosecutor in the state, and other ways too? Did you really see that?
I never saw that. I never saw that coming. When it wasn't really until the mid part of the election, toward the general part of the election, that I realized, and someone had to bring that to my attention, that I would be the first African-American woman to be district attorney for Alabama, and the first African-American, period, to become district attorney for Jefferson County. So making history was not my objective, but it's certainly a perk to it. It's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome feeling to know that you inspire young people to be all that they want to be, and that to just sow into them so they can reach their potential.
And you also supervise a number of deputy district attorneys and others in your office.
Yes, I have 14, including myself, it would be 15. There are 15 district attorneys. I have 9 administrative staff personnel, and I have 7 investigators.
And
8 investigators.
And with us today, you have your chief assistant, another
Yes.
student of Miles and mine.
Yes.
And that's Miss Valerie Poe.
Valerie Hicks Poe. She is also has made history. She is the first African American black chief assistant that was appointed to the DA. So I appointed Valerie Hicks Poe as my chief assistant, and it's so crazy how that came about. I knew what I wanted as my chief assistant. I knew what I was looking for. I was looking for someone who had knowledge about grants. I was looking for someone smarter than me. And Valerie and I had brunch one day. Was not my objective, didn't think about it, whom I was going to appoint as chief assistant. In fact, I was in a big quandary at that time because time was winding up and I had not selected anyone. And she and I were talking, we had brunch, and the opportunity was just kind of like an epiphany. It was like, how would you like to have that position?
I would call that kind of an ordained lunch.
I would say so. I would concur with you. and it has worked wonderfully ever since.
What is your biggest challenge as being the chief law enforcement officer and the historical one? What is your biggest challenge?
And within my office right now is budgetary issues, money. But we're about to approach a new budget. We're doing budget preparation for next fiscal year, so hopefully it'll be better. By being the first African American, by being a woman in a male-dominated world, that's kind of hard sometimes for men to, swallow, for them to take. Whenever there's a murder in the cutoff, my policy is that I want to be there. I have a deputy chief assistant, which is Doug Burns, and so he is my night owl, my night road dog, if you would. Whenever there is a crime that occurs, a death, then often I'll call him and we go out.
And that is very, very important, because you're really here to keep us all safe.
Yes.
And that's a responsibility, a huge responsibility.
One that I take serious.
Oh, there's no question.
It's one that I take serious. I have a thought of how I want my quality of life to be. And I have a view, a picture of how I want my son's quality of life to be. So if I have an opportunity to do something to at least put forth an effort to make the community safe, so that, and for young people to see that no matter what your environment is, no matter where you live, where you come from, if you have a dream, you have a goal, sky's the limit. The only person who can stop you is yourself. And sometimes we're our biggest obstacle.
And now Birmingham has such an infamous history, and the cutoff included in Alabama. And now you've made significant steps and progress towards closing the gap and as far as being now district attorney. Tell me, how does that influence you, and how does that relate to your quality of life that you were just mentioning?
It's a big responsibility. Sometimes, you think about it, it's like, oh my God, I'm district attorney. I have this great responsibility. But I'm a servant. I'm a public servant. And I've always had a servant's heart. And I think as long as I stay focused and know that is the people that voted for me, those are my bosses. Everyone who voted for me, and even those who are not, I'm still their district attorney if they reside in the cutoff.